Elon Musk is fuming, and it's all thanks to Senator Marco Rubio. In a fiery exchange, Rubio called out Musk, and let's just say, Elon did not take it well. Instead of brushing it off, he went on a full-blown meltdown, proving that even billionaires can throw tantrums. But what exactly did Rubio say that got under Musk's skin, and how did Elon react? Buckle up, because this drama is about to get wild. Elon Musk goes off on Marco Rubio. The tension in the White House hit a boiling point during a cabinet meeting on March 6, 2025, when Elon Musk took direct aim at Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Musk, who has been leading aggressive cost-cutting measures as head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, accused Rubio of failing to implement sufficient staff reductions at the State Department. Seated across from each other at the table, Musk did not hold back, claiming that Rubio had done little to streamline his department, despite directives to eliminate inefficiencies and cut down on bureaucracy. The room grew tense as Musk questioned whether Rubio was resisting the administration's goals or simply unwilling to make tough decisions. Rubio, known for his sharp wit and strategic thinking, listened calmly, but sources say his expression showed clear frustration. The clash between Musk's aggressive push for downsizing and Rubio's more measured approach to restructuring had been building for weeks, and this meeting finally brought it into the open. The confrontation set the stage for a heated exchange that would soon have the entire cabinet and even President Trump taking sides. As the discussion grew more intense, Musk doubled down on his criticism, arguing that Rubio had barely made an effort to cut staff at the State Department. He claimed that despite all the talk about restructuring, the only person Rubio had let go was a minor official from the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, a move Musk dismissed as insignificant. With frustration evident in his tone, Musk accused Rubio of dragging his feet, insisting that the administration's cost-cutting goals were being ignored. He pointed out that other agencies had made drastic reductions, while the State Department remained largely untouched. To Musk, firing one low-level official was nothing more than a symbolic gesture rather than a meaningful reform. Rubio, however, did not immediately respond, choosing instead to let Musk vent his frustrations. Those in the room could sense that this was more than just a policy disagreement. It was a battle of leadership styles. Musk wanted bold, immediate action, while Rubio appeared to be taking a more calculated, long-term approach. The tension between the two men was growing, and it was clear that neither was backing down anytime soon. Rubio finally decided to push back. Calm but firm, he countered Musk's accusations by pointing out that over 1,500 State Department employees had already left through early retirement buyouts. Without raising his voice, he explained that staff reductions were happening, but through a strategic, voluntary process rather than mass firings. He emphasized that forcing people out was not always the best solution, especially in a department where institutional knowledge and diplomacy mattered. Eliminating jobs recklessly, he argued, could create chaos rather than efficiency. The buyout program had been carefully structured to trim excess without destabilizing critical operations. Musk, however, remained unconvinced. He leaned forward, shaking his head slightly as if unimpressed with Rubio's explanation. To him, reducing staff through voluntary retirements was slow and ineffective, especially when other agencies had taken more drastic action. The room could sense that this was becoming more than a simple policy debate. It was a power struggle over how the administration should run its reforms. Despite the clear disagreement, Rubio maintained his composure, making it clear that he would not be pressured into handling things Musk's way. Rubio was not done making his point. After laying out the facts about the 1,500 employees who had already taken early retirement, he turned to Musk with a smirk and a sharp remark. "Do you want me to rehire all those people just so you can fire them again for the show?" Laughter rippled through the room, with a few cabinet members exchanging amused glances. The jab was unmistakable. Rubio was calling out Musk's obsession with public firings and questioning whether it was about actual efficiency or just making a statement. Musk, however, was not amused. His expression hardened as he dismissed the comment as deflection, insisting that symbolic retirements did not equal real cuts. He reiterated that every other agency had taken serious steps to downsize, while the State Department remained resistant. To Musk, trimming excess meant immediate, visible action, not slow, bureaucratic maneuvering. Rubio leaned back in his chair, his message clear. He was not going to let Musk dictate how he managed his department. The exchange had shifted from policy discussion to something much more personal, and everyone in the room knew it. The sharp back and forth between Musk and Rubio was more than just a disagreement about staffing. It was a clash of two very different leadership styles, and the tension had been building for months. Musk had been pushing for rapid, aggressive cost-cutting across federal agencies, believing that government inefficiency was best solved through swift and decisive action. Rubio, on the other hand, favored a measured, strategic approach, ensuring that reductions did not come at the cost of stability. Their exchange made it clear that they were operating on completely different wavelengths. Musk viewed the State Department's handling of staff reductions as slow and ineffective, while Rubio saw Musk's expectations as overly simplistic and and reckless. Their competing visions exposed a growing divide within the administration, one side pushing for immediate and highly visible changes, the other prioritizing long-term functionality. Even as the discussion moved on, the tension in the room lingered. Neither Musk nor Rubio appeared willing to budge, and their disagreement reflected a much larger debate about how far efficiency measures should go before they start undermining the work of government itself. Musk's push for aggressive restructuring was not limited to the State Department. As head of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, he had been at the center of sweeping reforms across multiple federal agencies, leaving a trail of tension in his wake. His mission was clear: slash costs, eliminate redundancies, and force the government to operate more like a lean, high-performing business. While some praised his approach for exposing bureaucratic waste, others saw it as disruptive and overly aggressive. Several cabinet members had already voiced concerns that Musk's rapid-fire changes were forcing agencies to operate under unrealistic constraints. Departments struggling with complex diplomatic, defense, and domestic affairs were now being pushed to meet corporate-style efficiency targets, something many officials argued was not compatible with government operations. The friction was impossible to ignore. Musk believed the resistance was nothing more than outdated government culture refusing to evolve, while his critics viewed his methods as reckless and lacking an understanding of the nuances of federal management. His clash with Rubio was just the latest example of a much larger power struggle unfolding within the administration. The clash between Musk and Rubio was not an isolated incident. Their differences had been simmering for months, particularly over the handling of USAID operations. Musk had repeatedly criticized what he saw as bloated spending and inefficiencies in the agency, pushing for deep cuts and a complete restructuring of its aid distribution methods. Rubio, however, resisted sweeping changes, arguing that USAID played a critical role in diplomacy and global stability, and that reckless downsizing could do more harm than good. Their disagreements became particularly heated when Musk's team attempted to impose new efficiency measures on foreign aid programs, cutting administrative costs and pushing for a more business-driven approach to humanitarian assistance. Rubio countered that USAID's work required strategic planning and long-term stability, not abrupt cost-cutting measures that could jeopardize international relationships. The tension had been building behind closed doors, but the cabinet meeting made it clear that the conflict between them was only growing stronger. With Musk pushing for more aggressive reforms and Rubio advocating for a measured approach, the divide between them was now impossible to ignore. Musk's leadership style had become one of the most polarizing aspects of the administration. His direct, no-nonsense approach to cutting government waste had won him both admiration and criticism. Supporters applauded his willingness to challenge outdated bureaucratic structures, arguing that his reforms were long overdue and necessary for a more efficient government. They pointed to his success in streamlining operations in multiple agencies, forcing departments to justify their budgets rather than relying on automatic funding increases. However, not everyone saw Musk's methods as productive. Critics within the administration accused him of overreach, acting more like a CEO issuing demands than a government official working within an established system. Many cabinet members felt that he prioritized speed over collaboration, pushing drastic cuts without fully considering the consequences. His clashes with agency heads, including Rubio, had created friction rather than fostering cooperative problem-solving. The growing divide between those who supported Musk's vision and those who opposed his tactics was starting to define his role within the administration. As his cost-cutting measures continued, so did the debate over whether he was a necessary disruptor or a reckless force creating instability. Now it's important to realize that the clash between Musk and Rubio was not just a personal dispute. It was a reflection of a much larger debate within the administration: how to balance fiscal responsibility with the practical realities of governance. While Musk insisted on aggressive cost-cutting, others within the cabinet worried that drastic reductions could cripple essential government functions. Some officials backed Musk's vision, believing that the federal government had become bloated and inefficient. They saw his efforts as a necessary disruption to force agencies to operate with discipline. On the other hand, skeptics argued that cutting budgets without a strategic plan could weaken departments that relied on stable funding to function properly. Rubio's measured approach was a direct counter to Musk's philosophy. He maintained that efficiency should not come at the expense of expertise and operational effectiveness. The cabinet meeting made it clear that the administration was divided, with some members embracing Musk's hardline stance while others pushed for a more cautious approach. This ideological battle was shaping the direction of government policy, and with Musk unwilling to back down, tensions were only expected to escalate further. Publicly, both Musk and Rubio made an effort to present a united front despite the intensity of their dispute. When questioned about the confrontation, both downplayed any notion of personal animosity, insisting that their exchange was simply a passionate debate about how best to serve the country. Musk, known for his blunt style, brushed off the disagreement as a necessary part of pushing for change. He stated that strong leadership requires as difficult conversations, and that disagreements within the administration only prove that officials are thinking critically about the issues at hand. Rubio took a more diplomatic approach, emphasizing that the administration was working toward the same goal, ensuring efficiency without compromising essential government functions. Behind closed doors, tensions still lingered, but neither man wanted to give the impression that the disagreement was anything more than a policy debate. Their public reassurances were aimed at keeping the administration from appearing divided, especially as scrutiny over government restructuring efforts continued to grow. While their visions for reform remained worlds apart, they both understood that projecting unity was just as important as pushing their respective agendas. The clash between Musk and Rubio is more than just a disagreement over staffing. It's a clear case of people in the administration seeing things differently when it comes to making the government more efficient. As the debate played out, all eyes turned to President Trump. President Trump steps in. As the heated exchange between Musk and Rubio escalated, President Trump decided to intervene, shifting the energy in the room. Rather than letting the debate spiral further, he steered the discussion away from personal conflicts and back to the administration's broader goals. Trump defended Rubio's performance as Secretary of State, making it clear that his leadership was not in question. He acknowledged that differences in approach were expected, but he wanted the focus to remain on results rather than internal disputes. By stepping in, he effectively neutralized the back and forth, reminding everyone that cabinet meetings were about governance, not personal rivalries. Later, when reporters pressed him about the clash, Trump brushed off the idea of any serious tension. Interrupting a question about the reported squabble, he quipped, "No clash. I was there. You're just a troublemaker." Then, with his signature ability to shift the narrative, he added, "And you're not supposed to be asking that question because we're talking about the World Cup." With that, he shut down speculation, making it clear that public perception of unity was just as important as the policy debates happening behind closed doors. After stepping in to cool the exchange, Trump made it clear where the authority truly rested. He reminded everyone in the room that staffing decisions and departmental changes were the responsibility of each cabinet member, not DOJ. While Musk had been leading the charge on identifying inefficiencies and pushing for government-wide restructuring, Trump reinforced that his role was advisory, not executive. By laying down this distinction, Trump was drawing a line between aggressive cost-cutting and practical governance. He acknowledged that Musk's push for reform was valuable, but it had to be balanced with the autonomy of department heads like Rubio, who had to manage their agencies effectively. The message was clear. Musk could recommend, but he could not dictate. This statement acted as a reality check for the discussion. It subtly underlined the fact that efficiency reforms had to align with practical governance, not just aggressive downsizing. While Trump valued Musk's expertise in streamlining operations, he was not about to let one person override the authority of his top officials. After reinforcing that department heads held the authority over staffing, Trump took a moment to clarify the true purpose of DOJ. He stated firmly that the Department of Government Efficiency was not designed to dictate actions, but to serve in an advisory capacity. Its role was to identify inefficiencies, provide recommendations, and highlight areas for improvement, but the power to implement changes remained with individual agencies. This distinction was crucial, especially as Musk's approach had led to growing concerns among cabinet members. Some felt that DOJ was overstepping its boundaries, acting as an enforcement body rather than an efficiency consultant. By addressing this directly, Trump aimed to reassure those who had felt pressured by Musk's aggressive push for cuts. At the same time, Trump acknowledged the value of Musk's efforts, reminding everyone that cutting government waste was still a priority, but he made it clear that DOJ was not a governing force. It was a tool for streamlining operations, not a decision-making authority. This clarification helped re-establish balance within the administration, ensuring that efficiency did not come at the expense of order. With tensions still hanging in the air, Trump took a more measured tone, recognizing the difficult balancing act his cabinet members faced. He acknowledged that while streamlining government operations was necessary, it was not an easy task. Reducing spending while ensuring critical services remained intact was a challenge that required careful planning, not just aggressive cuts. His words were directed at both Musk and Rubio, as well as other officials in the room who had felt the strain of the administration's efficiency push. Trump understood that forcing immediate reductions across agencies could disrupt operations, and he made it clear that practicality had to be considered alongside cost-cutting efforts. At the same time, he reiterated that waste and bureaucracy needed to be tackled head-on. The key was finding the right balance between reducing inefficiencies and keeping the government running smoothly. His statement set a tone of pragmatism, reinforcing that while Musk's efforts were valued, they had to be tempered with an understanding of how agencies functioned on a day-to-day basis. After acknowledging the difficulties of balancing efficiency with functionality, Trump shifted the conversation toward teamwork. He made it clear that internal disputes would not help the administration achieve its goals, urging his cabinet members to work together rather than let disagreements slow progress. To drive home his message, he dismissed any talk of tension tension between Musk and Rubio. Elon gets along great with Marco, and they're both doing a fantastic job. There is no clash, Trump said, downplaying the fiery exchange from earlier. His statement was aimed at projecting unity, ensuring that any friction within the administration would not be perceived as dysfunction by the public or the media. Trump reminded the room that his team was built to deliver results, not engage in power struggles. He called on cabinet members to channel their debates into productive solutions rather than let personal disagreements create unnecessary obstacles. While differences in approach were inevitable, he insisted that the administration had to remain focused on a common mission: efficiency, stability, and effective governance. With that, the mood in the room shifted slightly as Trump's words redirected the conversation from conflict to cooperation. After the cabinet meeting, rumors of a heated clash between Musk and Rubio quickly spread, with media outlets speculating about a deepening divide within the administration. Trump, however, was quick to shut down those reports, insisting that the meeting had been nothing more than a productive discussion among passionate leaders. Speaking to reporters, he downplayed any notion of discord, characterizing the exchange as nothing out of the ordinary for a high-functioning government team. He framed the conversation as a necessary debate rather than a sign of division, making it clear that spirited discussions were a natural part of policymaking. While some insiders noted lingering tensions between Musk and Rubio, Trump remained firm in his public messaging. He emphasized that his administration was unified in its mission, and any reports suggesting otherwise were exaggerated. His approach was not just about controlling the narrative, but reinforcing the idea that internal disagreements would not disrupt the administration's efficiency goals. With a confident tone, Trump made it clear that his team was moving forward together, brushing aside any speculation of internal strife. After dismissing reports of any serious rift, Trump made sure to publicly recognize the contributions of both Musk and Rubio. He highlighted their dedication to the administration's broader mission, reinforcing that each played a crucial role in pushing forward key initiatives. Musk's efforts in streamlining government operations had brought significant changes to various agencies, while Rubio's leadership at the State Department had ensured stability in diplomatic affairs despite ongoing restructuring efforts. Rather than taking sides, Trump positioned both men as valuable assets, emphasizing that their differing approaches ultimately served the same goal: a more efficient, effective government. By praising them equally, he aimed to smooth over any lingering tension while reassuring the public and other cabinet members that unity remained intact. His words were as much about controlling the political optics as they were about reinforcing teamwork. Even if disagreements occasionally surfaced, he wanted the administration to be seen as a cohesive unit, working toward a common purpose. With the conflict officially put to rest in public, Trump moved on, refocusing attention on the administration's priorities. After reinforcing the value of both Musk and Rubio's contributions, Trump took a moment to highlight the delicate balance between efficiency and effective governance. He acknowledged that cutting government waste was a priority, but reminded everyone that reform should not come at the cost of functionality. Streamlining operations was necessary, but Trump cautioned against making changes so aggressively that they disrupted essential services. He pointed out that government agencies were not businesses and could not be dismantled and rebuilt overnight. While he appreciated Musk's commitment to cutting inefficiencies, he also understood Rubio's concerns about ensuring the State Department continued to function properly. By addressing both perspectives, Trump positioned himself as the voice of reason, making it clear that while reform was necessary, it had to be handled strategically. He reinforced that the administration's goal was not just to shrink government, but to make it work better. His remarks signaled that he expected both men and the rest of the cabinet to find common ground in their approaches. With that, the meeting shifted from confrontation to a broader discussion about the path forward, with Trump steering the conversation back towards solutions rather than conflict. With tensions cooling in the room, Trump's intervention became less about the debate itself and more about preventing any lasting damage from it. He understood that public perception mattered just as much as policy decisions, and the last thing he wanted was for reports of division within his cabinet to dominate the news cycle. By stepping in when he did, he effectively shifted the narrative from conflict to collaboration, making it clear that differences of opinion were not signs of dysfunction, but rather evidence of a government that was actively engaged in problem solving. He had no interest in letting the Musk-Rubio exchange spiral into a distraction, so he quickly redirected the conversation toward moving forward as a team. His handling of the situation ensured that no one walked away feeling like a loser, which was critical to maintaining a strong and functional cabinet. Instead of allowing egos to take over, he framed the debate as a healthy exchange of ideas, reinforcing that everyone was working toward the same ultimate goal: an efficient and effective administration. With the meeting back on track, Trump had successfully neutralized any potential fallout before it could escalate beyond the room. After steering the conversation away from tension, Trump's handling of the situation perfectly reflected his management style: firm, direct, and always in control of the narrative. He did not shy away from conflict behind closed doors, allowing his cabinet members to engage in spirited debates, but when it came to public perception, he was determined to project unity. Rather than letting internal disagreements define his administration, he framed them as a sign of an engaged, results-driven team working through complex issues. This approach had been a hallmark of his leadership, turning heated exchanges into proof that his administration was not afraid to challenge itself in pursuit of better governance. By allowing Musk and Rubio to voice their concerns, he kept his team dynamic, but by shutting down media speculation, he ensured that the focus remained on accomplishments rather than divisions. In the end, Trump's ability to manage competing personalities while maintaining a unified front was one of his strongest assets. The administration moved forward with its policies intact, proving once again that debate was welcome, but dysfunction was not. On the surface, Trump's intervention seemed to smooth things over, but behind the scenes, the debate over Musk's role and Doge's influence was far from settled, behind closed doors. Long before the cabinet meeting turned into a public showdown, tensions between Musk and Rubio had been steadily building behind closed doors. The two had clashed over Musk's relentless push for rapid cost-cutting and Rubio's more strategic, long-term approach. Their differing philosophies had created friction in meetings, internal communications, and private discussions with other officials. Musk's aggressive methods, particularly within the State Department and USAID, had rubbed Rubio the wrong way. While Musk saw inefficiencies that needed to be eliminated, Rubio saw the risk of damaging diplomatic operations and critical foreign aid efforts. Those close to the situation say that each conversation between the two became more strained, setting the stage for the public confrontation that eventually unfolded. Though they both maintained professionalism in public, it was clear to those around them that neither was willing to back down. The tension had become a defining feature of internal policy debates, with other cabinet members taking note as two of the administration's most influential figures found themselves at odds. As the weeks passed, Rubio's frustration with Doge's approach only deepened. Internal communications revealed his growing concerns over the way Musk's department was pushing restructuring efforts onto agencies under his purview. While Rubio understood the need for efficiency, he believed that the aggressive tactics being used by Doge were causing more disruption than improvement. Emails and memos from Rubio's team showed that he had repeatedly questioned the speed and scope of the changes. He had warned that sudden reductions in staff and resources could weaken critical operations, particularly within the State Department and USAID. Instead of a balanced, methodical approach, he saw Doge's push as hasty and potentially reckless. Behind closed doors, Rubio was not alone in his frustration. Other agency heads had expressed similar concerns, noting that Doge's directives often felt like sweeping corporate-style cutbacks rather than tailored solutions for government operations. Despite his objections, the pressure to comply with Musk's efficiency campaign kept mounting. As tensions between Musk and Rubio escalated, a new controversy added fuel to the fire. Reports surfaced that members of Musk's team had attempted to access classified information at USAID without the necessary security clearances. This move immediately raised red flags within the agency and triggered internal disputes that only deepened the divide between Doge and other departments. USAID officials pushed back hard, arguing that Musk's efficiency reforms did not grant his team the authority to review classified materials. Security protocols were clear. Only authorized personnel with proper clearance could access sensitive data related to foreign aid distribution and diplomatic missions. The attempt to sidestep those restrictions was seen as an overreach, further reinforcing concerns that Doge was operating outside its intended advisory role. Behind closed doors, Rubio's frustration hit a boiling point. The incident validated his fears that Musk's team was pushing too fast. While Musk's allies defended the move as a necessary step to uncover inefficiencies, others in the administration viewed it as a reckless maneuver that undermined trust and created unnecessary turmoil. The fallout from Musk's restructuring push was not limited to Rubio. Behind closed doors, several agency heads privately voiced their growing concerns about the rapid pace of Doge-mandated staff reductions. While many agreed that streamlining government operations was necessary, they feared that the speed and scale of the cuts were creating chaos rather than efficiency. Some officials warned that their agencies were being stretched too thin, struggling to keep up with critical functions while simultaneously complying with Musk's aggressive cost-cutting measures. Others expressed frustration over the lack of strategic planning, arguing that Doge's demands prioritized numbers over operational effectiveness. The pressure to reduce workforce numbers was leaving essential departments scrambling to fill gaps, leading to concerns that key government services could suffer. While some within the administration admired Musk's determination to eliminate eliminate waste. Others saw his approach as unsustainable and disruptive. As these concerns circulated among agency leaders, it became clear that Musk's push for efficiency was creating deeper divides within the federal government. The battle between reform and stability was only getting more intense. As frustration over Doge's rapid staff reductions grew, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles found herself playing the role of mediator. Recognizing that the escalating tensions between Musk's team and various departments could disrupt the administration's broader goals, she stepped in to ease the friction and find common ground. Her approach was focused on diplomacy rather than confrontation. She met privately with agency heads, listening to their concerns about the pace of reductions and the challenges of maintaining operational stability. At the same time, she worked closely with Doge to ensure that efficiency measures were being implemented without causing unnecessary turmoil. Rather than allowing the situation to spiral into deeper division, Wiles sought to create a smoother transition that aligned with both Musk's push for reform and the practical realities of government operations. Her efforts were critical in preventing the situation from boiling over. While Musk and Rubio remained at odds over certain policies, Wiles' ability to negotiate between the two sides helped stabilize the growing uncertainty within the administration. As Doge's aggressive restructuring efforts rippled through federal agencies, concerns were no longer confined to internal disputes. Republican lawmakers began reaching out to the Office of Legislative Affairs, raising alarms about the impact these deep workforce reductions were having on government services. Constituents were voicing frustration, and their elected representatives were beginning to take notice. Some lawmakers supported Musk's push for a leaner, more efficient government, but others worried that the rapid staff cuts were undermining essential functions. Reports surfaced of delayed processing times in key agencies, disruptions in public services, and departments struggling to meet critical demands. In response, legislators pressed for a more measured approach to restructuring, urging the administration to balance cost-cutting with maintaining operational stability. These concerns added another layer of pressure on the White House, forcing officials to address the growing disconnect between Doge's reforms and the realities faced by government workers and the public. The debate was no longer just an internal battle. It was beginning to spill into the broader political arena, shaping the conversation on government efficiency and accountability. Tensions within the administration took on a new dimension as federal employees impacted by Doge's restructuring moved toward legal action. Citing procedural violations, some argued that their dismissals had not followed standard employment protections, leading to a wave of legal challenges. The complaints raised concerns that Musk's team had overstepped boundaries, cutting staff too aggressively without regard for federal employment laws. Behind the scenes, the controversy extended beyond legal disputes. Insiders revealed deepening debates within the administration over the true extent of Doge's authority. While Musk maintained that his department was simply implementing efficiency measures, some officials believed Doge was acting beyond its intended role, enforcing directives that should have remained within the control of individual agencies. The momentum behind Musk's aggressive efficiency push was now facing significant resistance. Several cabinet members voiced concerns that drastic cuts without careful planning could destabilize essential government functions, including national security operations and public services. What began as a drive to eliminate waste was now being reassessed, as officials argued that efficiency should not come at the cost of stability. The administration found itself at a turning point: continue pushing forward with sweeping reforms or adopt a more measured approach to prevent unintended disruptions.
The aftermath of the presidential debate has been a very controversial scene, as Trump has constantly claimed to have won the debate.
And I think it was the best debate I've ever personally that I've had. We're getting polls that show 92 to 6, 88 to 11.
However, the whole world watched Kamala Harris rip into Trump on different instances, and the flash poll results clearly showed who people thought won the debate hands down. While Kamala has asked for another debate, Trump has decided not to put himself through the embarrassment again. And just like every other thing about the Trump campaign, his reason for declining is absolutely ridiculous. Real reason for Trump's refusal. Following the presidential debate, snap polls suggested that a majority of viewers believed Harris had outperformed Trump. Despite this, Trump claimed victory and declared that there would be no further debates. This statement left many people puzzled and questioning his motives. Fast forward to the 23rd of October, when CNN extended an invitation for a second debate. Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party's candidate, gladly accepted the invitation. Her campaign team argued that since Trump claimed to have won their previous debate, he should accept the challenge for another one. Harris-Walz campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon emphasized that Americans deserve another opportunity to see Harris and Trump debate before the November election. She pointed out that it would be unprecedented in modern history for there to be just one general election debate. Debates offer a unique chance for voters to see the candidates side by side and take stock of their competing visions for America. On X, formerly known as Twitter, Harris expressed her eagerness to debate Trump again. She hoped that Trump would also take part, adding to the mounting pressure on him to accept the invitation. CNN had planned for the potential debate to follow the same format as the one it broadcast in June between Trump and President Joe Biden. Biden's faltering performance in that encounter led some Democrats to question whether he should be the party's candidate for the election. After weeks of uncertainty, Biden announced he would not seek re-election, paving the way for Harris to become the nominee. As the date for the second debate approached, Trump made a shocking announcement at a rally in Wilmington, North Carolina. He told his supporters that voting had already started, making it too late for another debate. He reiterated his claim of victory in their previous debate and accused Harris of seeking another round of sparring because she's losing badly. This statement left many people stunned and questioning his motives. At the Trump rally, some voters expressed their disappointment at the prospect of no second debate. Trump supporter Steve Castellano said, "If you're not afraid, why not? They both did great at the last debate." He suggested that the moderators were a little biased at the last debate and proposed some conditions for a possible rematch. Castellano said, "They should debate again at a network Trump chooses. What I would really love is a good podcaster to moderate. I'd really love Joe Rogan to do it." Harris holds a slight lead over Trump in national polling averages, and North Carolina could be crucial for his hopes to return to the White House. Since their first debate, a majority of national polls suggest that Harris has made small gains with voters. Trump insisting that he won the debate is a bit comical because the whole world watched the event quickly spiral into chaos, with Trump's performance being widely criticized for its disorganization and numerous falsehoods. Yet, Trump wasted no time in declaring himself the winner. The morning after the debate, Trump appeared on Fox and Friends and boldly claimed victory. Trump didn't hold back in his criticism of ABC News, calling it the most dishonest news organization and describing the debate as 3-1 and a rigged deal. He even went as far as to say it was one of my better debates, maybe my best debate. Kamala Harris's campaign, on the other hand, immediately called for a second debate. They left Philadelphia eager for another showdown, and Fox News even offered to host it. But Trump seemed to backtrack on his earlier eagerness for multiple debates. He suggested that another debate would just give Harris another chance to attack him. Trump's reluctance didn't stop there. He criticized the idea of having Martha MacCallum and Brett Baier as moderators for a potential second debate. Instead, he said he would consider right-wing pundits like Sean Hannity, Jesse Waters, and Laura Ingraham. "I didn't think Martha and Brett were good last night," he added, as the Fox and Friends hosts tried to steer the conversation elsewhere. The lead-up to the debate was filled with drama. There was squabbling over when, where, and how they would meet. Trump had initially called for multiple debates, including one on Fox News on September 4th, which Harris declined. Then, Trump threatened to drop out of the ABC News debate, and the campaigns argued over the rules. The main issue was whether each candidate's microphone would be muted while the other spoke. Harris's team had fought for unmuted mics, but eventually gave in. Even with her volume turned down, Harris tried to interrupt Trump multiple times. At one point, Trump shut her down, saying, "I'm talking now, does that sound familiar?" This was a reference to Harris's 2020 debate with Mike Pence, when she famously said, "Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking." Harris's campaign released a statement calling for a second debate. Fox News offered to host one moderated by Martha MacCallum and Brett Baier, while early in-person voting gets underway in multiple battleground states on October 9th in Arizona, October 15th in Georgia, or October 16th in North Carolina. MacCallum said during the network's post-debate coverage, "Seems like the American people would love another opportunity to see these candidates. It's been such a short window, and they deserve as many opportunities as possible." But Trump appeared to reject the network's offer, saying, "I wouldn't want to have Martha and Brett." He said he probably wouldn't agree to any more debates, but would consider right-wing pundits as moderators. Fox and Friends co-host Brian Kilmeade defended the anchors, saying they would do a phenomenal job, and telling Trump, "You would find them extremely fair." On Wednesday, Harris campaign spokesperson Quentin Fulks affirmed on CNN that Harris is open to a debate in October. He added, "But if I were Donald Trump, "I would not want to debate Kamala Harris." Trump also claimed his victory at the debate during his Arizona rally that happened a day after the debate. Trump's claim of victory was a central theme of his speech, as he painted himself as the clear winner of the debate. Despite mixed reviews from political analysts and the media, Trump insisted that his performance had been superior. He portrayed Harris as weak and ineffective while positioning himself as the strong leader America needed. This narrative resonated deeply with his supporters, who were eager to believe in their candidate's triumph. In a particularly shocking moment, Trump accused Haitian immigrants of eating animals in Springfield, Ohio. This unfounded and racist smear has been challenged by town officials and has only served to inflame tensions and attacks against the Haitian community. The rally took another dramatic turn when Trump announced that there would not be another debate. "There will not be another debate. We don't need it. We won big," he stated. This bold declaration left many wondering if he was trying to avoid another potentially contentious showdown with Harris. His supporters, however, seemed to take his words at face value, cheering loudly in agreement. Trump's refusal to attend a second debate drew a derisive response from the Harris campaign, with Chair David Plouffe stating in a tweet, "At long last we discover his spirit animal, the chicken." This jab was a direct hit, resonating with many who viewed Trump's refusal as a sign of weakness. The Harris campaign continued to press for another debate, with spokesperson Brian Fallon telling Politico, "The vice president is clear she believes there should be another debate, and we do not consider this to be the last word from him. Is just working through his feelings after losing very badly Tuesday night." During his presidency, Trump often shied away from press conferences and interviews with journalists who were likely to ask difficult questions. Will he cave to the pressure and agree to another debate, or will he continue to avoid the confrontation? But before then, let's recap the major moments at the presidential debate to understand why Trump is claiming to have won the debate. The first debate. Kamala Harris's performance during the U.S. presidential debate against Donald Trump was nothing short of a political masterclass. From the moment she stepped onto the stage in Philadelphia, it was clear she was prepared to take on the challenge head-on. Harris needed to reintroduce herself to the American public in her new role, defend President Joe Biden's record, and differentiate herself as a candidate. She accomplished all these goals with remarkable poise and precision. Harris set the tone for the night right from the start. Confidently crossing the stage to where Trump stood, she extended her hand and cheerfully introduced herself. This simple yet powerful gesture immediately established her as a composed and confident leader. Throughout the debate, Harris frequently seized the initiative, making Trump visibly uncomfortable, a rare sight for the former president. One of the most striking aspects of Harris's performance was her ability to launch barbs that compelled Trump to exaggerate or make ludicrous claims. A prime example of this was when she quipped about the crowd sizes at his rallies. This provoked Trump to boast about his events being the most incredible rallies in the history of politics, setting off a rhetorical meltdown from which he never truly recovered. Harris, known for her sharp wit and strategic thinking, decided to take a detour. After addressing the immigration question and blaming Trump for tanking a congressional border bill, she shifted gears. "I'm going to actually do something really unusual," she said, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch." The audience was hooked. Harris continued, smirking as she listed some of Trump's common digressions, like windmills and the fictional killer Hannibal Lecter. Trump's eyes narrowed, and his head cocked to the left, sensing an attack. "And what you will also notice," Harris said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. The one thing you will not hear him talk about is you." And just like that, Trump was off to the races, talking about himself. Trump, ever the showman, couldn't resist defending his rally attendance. "We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics," he declared, his voice booming with pride. But he didn't stop there. In a bizarre twist, he started talking about cats. The audience was stunned. Harris, on the other hand, looked like she was having the time of her life. She threw her head back and laughed, while ABC moderator David Muir tried to steer the conversation back to immigration. Harris, ever the strategist, let Trump dig his own hole. She projected the deep concern of a disappointed relative and laughed for a moment. But Harris wasn't finished. She brought up the Republicans who had endorsed her campaign, like Liz Cheney, a former congresswoman and relentless Trump critic. Trump's reaction? He yanked his head skyward and pretended to laugh, unconvincingly. Senator J.D. Vance first made the claim about Haitian immigrants on Monday, saying, "It's coming to your city next." The Trump campaign even released a news statement recounting these falsehoods. However, Vance appeared to backtrack on Tuesday morning in a social post, saying his office had received many inquiries about the false claims. Despite the lack of evidence, social media platforms have been flooded with memes and AI-generated images images of cats in support of Trump. This has only added fuel to the fire, making the rumor even more widespread. This exchange was a masterclass in political baiting. Harris knew exactly how to push Trump's buttons, and he fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Instead of focusing on the issues, Trump got sidetracked by his own vanity and bizarre conspiracy theories. Harris's most cutting line of the night came when she recited a list of Trump advisors who had become his harshest critics. Trump argued he'd fired them all, setting up Harris to deliver a devastating blow. She pointed out that the former president had been fired by 81 million Americans in the last election. This line not only reinforced her message that it was time for Americans to turn the page, but also reminded viewers of Trump's false claims that he won the 2020 election. It was a moment that encapsulated Harris's ability to blend sharp critique with a forward-looking vision. Throughout the debate, Trump found moments to attack, pressing Harris on the Biden administration's role in approving the Nord Stream pipeline between Russia and Europe. However, his anger often seemed to overstep the mark. He made false and ludicrous claims about windmills and solar power, babies being executed after birth, and Haitian migrants eating family pets in Springfield, Ohio. Such conspiratorial tones, while unchallenged in his rallies, seemed out of place and unpresidential on the debate stage. Harris often openly laughed at these claims, further highlighting the absurdity of Trump's statements and maintaining her composure. The media coverage following the debate suggested that Republicans in general, and Trump in particular, felt the night did not go their way. Trump and his supporters trotted out a variety of explanations and excuses, pointing to supportive online and unscientific polls, attacking the moderators, and even floating a baseless conspiracy theory that Harris knew the questions in advance. However, Harris's preparation and performance were no conspiracy. They were the result of meticulous planning and a deep understanding of the issues at hand. Stepping back, the debate underscored the true stakes of the election. For a democratic system to survive, candidates have to be willing to lose. As Harris pointed out, Trump continuously indicates that he cannot recognize a loss when he has suffered one and is not willing to play by democratic rules and norms, both written and unwritten. This fundamental difference in their approach to democracy was laid bare for all to see. In the hours following Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's first and possibly last in-person face-off, political commentators and unofficial polls seemed to largely crown her the winner of the night. A CNN poll revealed that debate watchers declared Harris a winner by a comfortable 63-37 margin. A YouGov poll had Harris winning by 43-28 among registered voters. Even pundits at Fox News, the conservative TV network, agreed she bested Trump. But did Harris actually win, or did Trump just unravel, making her the winner? Al Jazeera checked in with half a dozen experts on debating, political speech, psychology, and communications. Some said she successfully tapped into his weaknesses, while others noted that her strategy aimed at unsettling him, but came at the cost of failing to tell voters more about her own policies. Tamika M. Robinson, a professor of rhetoric and public advocacy at Hofstra University, said she won the debate, and not just by default. Still, Robinson added, Trump did himself no favors by failing to stick to the issues. Trump needed to talk about his policy ideas more, rather than relying on leaning into the same dangerous rhetoric about immigrants and reproductive justice, she said. He was correct in pushing VP Harris on the issue about the tariffs, and that President Biden did not discontinue these. If he would have stuck to his success in certain policy decisions, the debate could have gone differently. Tammy R. Vigil, a media professor at Boston University focused on political communication, also stressed that while Harris exploited Trump's weaknesses to her advantage, she failed to offer specifics about her policy plans. Harris won the debate because she knew exactly what buttons to push to help Trump express himself in the manner that is most revealing of his character, Vigil told Al Jazeera. His content is very rarely fact-based and often relies heavily on urging emotional rather than rational responses from viewers. He did the same last night. Trump's reaction to the debate is almost comical, especially after he ripped into Biden for his terrible performance during their debate in Atlanta. Well, only time will tell. But with supporters walking out of his rallies, things are not looking up for Trump.